Hey, everybody, and welcome to a unbelievable webinar. And we're just going to let people trickle in here for a minute while I talk just a little bit about what to expect. Number one, we'd really love it for you to use the Q&A, not the chat, for this webinar. We know you're going to have a lot of questions because we are introducing the newest feature, the biggest feature that has been launched by Zocks since the actual initial product was launched. And so I get a little emotional about this. For those of you who don't know me, this is just who I am. But this is one of the biggest things that I've seen in 20 years. When I first got my first Zocks demo and I saw the note-taking capabilities and the meeting prep and the follow-up and all of those things, I was like, man, this is just solving so many advisor problems. And then I got demoed this CQ 2 weeks ago, and I was literally texting my financial advisor friend saying, you guys have to look at this because what we're going to show you today is going to solve one of the biggest problems that you've ever had. I'm not trying to oversell it. I'm just really excited about it, and I cannot believe that this is our opportunity to bring this to all of you today. That's number one. Number two, if you do have questions, again, please make sure you put it in the Q&A. And number three, when you get done with this, you are going to get a follow-up email from us with the recording. And I want you to forward that to people you know, because after you see the functionality of this, you guys are going to want to share this with all your advisor friends. So our guests today, well, they're not really guests, I'm really the guest here, are going to be the CEO, which is Mark, and our Chief Strategy Officer, which is Steven. Steven's going to be walking you through a demo, and Mark's going to be giving us the high-level view of what this new product is and overall how it works. Mark, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. And I really appreciate everyone's time today. Really excited, as Matt was saying, maybe not quite as excited as Matt, but still very excited to get everything going. Just as a very quick, housekeeping, for anybody who has questions, if you can put them in the Q&A tab, that'd be awesome. And then we can rip through them a lot quicker and get you, answers as we'll answer as many as we can. What we're going to be talking about today is something that we call client queries. It is both, as Matt was saying, when we even started, it was one of these things that we're really excited about. It's something that seems simple, but we're already seeing it change the way that people are frankly running their business. And let me start with just a really simple anecdote, which I think will resonate with a lot of advisors. We were talking, so we've had client queries running with a number of advisors for about 7 or 8 months now at this point, doing a lot of learning, really understanding what are they doing, what's most valuable to them. We spoke with one throughout this process. And, a lot of people are really thinking about, like the generational wealth transfer and essentially like, am I connecting with the children of my top clients? So we asked one, how many families in the households that he served, he knew the family and the children of. And he said probably about 60% I'm pretty close with, and I talked to. And so we actually went in, he was an early user on the system, and we did a query and we showed him that in the last 3 years, he had only spoken with 18% of children, basically of the households he had connected with the children on. And it was a big, strong reminder to us where I think a lot of people know what they should be doing. And a lot of people know like kind of what the best practices and they want to be doing it. It's extremely hard to scale that. And there's two big reasons we see that make this hard to scale. And that's what we're trying to solve with client queries. One is that this data is spread out everywhere. And so we've seen all of these systems that say like, oh, I can answer that in my system. Like I can go into the Schwab portal and see who has an RMD, and I can do all these things. The reality is people don't know how to do it. They don't want to go to all these portals. And, I think also you often want to join the data, right? You want to know who is in this situation and has children who have this hobby, or who, you're doing these kind of more advanced things. And then the second thing is just frankly what we call operationalizing it. So once I know these lists of people, this is going to sound funny, but if I give you a list of people you should reach out to this week, and let's say there's 12 people on that list, a lot of advisors just don't do it because they don't have the systems in place to do it. And they want to, and they feel bad about it, but they just don't. And so we try to solve both of those with this. I'm going to explain it quickly, and then much more interesting than me talking, I'm going to hand it over to Steven so he can show you what it looks like. But let me give you a little bit more information just as we were doing a lot of the research for this and as we were designing the system on what this looks like. So Zocks, I think everyone knows, or hopefully a lot of you know, is an AI system that's really meant to be helpful for advisors. really we want you to be focused on your clients and take your hands off the keyboard, right? So we do things like meeting preparation, meeting notes, we're filling out forms, we're doing all these other great things. But one of the really awesome side effects, and frankly, like I think one of the highest value pieces, is that we're collecting all of this data and we then can make it very easy to access. And what this means to you is that you can now start to do things in a reliable, regular way with very little time. So when we were doing research on this, one of the key data points we got is that, almost 90% of advisors say they offer what we call holistic planning, right? Like looking across someone's entire situation, understanding what's going on and really optimizing for that. Yet when we asked them, like, how are you doing that with clients? How do you actually make that work? Over half of them had a servicing calendar that they didn't follow. And that just means like you know how to take care of your clients. You know when they need help. You can frankly grow your business by helping them. And it's just really hard to do that. Even when we all know that having a consistent rhythm with your clients is going to be, frankly, helpful for you, helpful for your clients. They like it and it helps your business. So the big challenge that we're trying to get through is making this very easy to do. So you know exactly who to reach out to at the right point without having to like kind of check on everyone all of the time. So that's one really kind of interesting data point that we had. The other thing that we see is when we started off, we're really looking at this kind of more from a growth point of view. How do I grow my business? And what we learned from, frankly, a lot of you is that most advisors are like, if you can handle the servicing and the like taking care of the clients, the growth just comes, right? And a lot of us, again, they have the playbooks and they just need to know when and what to do. So simple examples, referrals, I think we all know are a great way to frankly grow your business. Half of advisors we talked to had no formal referral process, right? Now we can start to say, like, who gave us a referral in the last 3 months and we never spoke with them, right? Or who gave us a referral and we did speak with them? Should I send them a gift? Should I send them a thank you? Should I even just follow up with these people? How many of you can even look and start to understand cross-sell opportunities, and I think more importantly across the board is just life events, right? Like what are going on? And, when you reach out to a client proactively because they're going through a life event or they have a situation, the client views it as amazing, right? I think we all know if you can help them in that, I'll say the time of need, it's super valuable and it retains that client long term for you, but also frankly is often a great way to grow your business. So another great example that we had during this kind of long beta period was we had an advisor who literally was just asking, how many of my clients have a mortgage or fixed costs that they can't handle with their life insurance amount right now? And it just went through the system and it said, here are 13 people that essentially have fixed costs that we know in a life insurance that's under that. This person reached out to them and had over 10 of them reply and basically increase their insurance in the first week. And you just think of that. And like, if I'm in that situation and I have, like, frankly, a gap, I want to fix it. Of course, I want to fix it, right? I live in California, as you'd imagine, like pretty litigious state. As I work with our insurance people and our, financial planners, like one of the key things we always cover is insurance. And so getting these things in place, it's helpful. It helps drive their business. And frankly, as a client, you feel amazing. So all of these things are possible. The really, really awesome thing is all of you have unique businesses, and this allows you to do things for whatever, frankly, however you want to operate your business. And so at the end of it, when we look back, like we're already giving you, with Zocks, kind of the core piece, typically we see 8 to 10 hours, a lot of people more than 10 hours if they're working with clients a lot. And the nice thing now is by doing that and using Zocks, we have this data available to you where you can go ask it questions and really starts to increase the economics of your practice again by making it a lot easier and lighter to frankly be more personal and scale to take care of more of your clients at the same time. So I'll give you a few examples of these, and then I will, as promised, hand it over so you can see all of these things. But the super interesting thing with this that was even frankly impressive for us is, as I was mentioning at the start, there's a number of kind of systems that say, hey, you can query across this and ask this or ask this. We know a lot of people don't do that, and we know the main reason is that it's hard to do, and that data is very rarely in one spot. And so being able to look across a lot of these things, not just the conversational data that you've had maybe talking with them in person meetings and things like that, but also through email and really kind of these like profiles that we built up. You can now really start to do everything from grow your business, get deeper relationships, and really start to mix the financial and the personal together, right? So you can say who is in this situation, maybe more personally in a family situation, and has this financial product or doesn't. And we've seen it get used in a whole bunch of ways. We've seen firms use it to try to help their advisors use new products that may be helpful for their clients. So like private lending products where the people have, certain needs that they can basically go into, they can do this query and see that right away. They've seen it connect a whole bunch of dots, like we already mentioned, essentially like the wealth transfer in the family and like, are we connecting with these other people differently? We've seen it used to see who has coverage for different things. We've definitely seen it used for RMDs and a whole slew of things like that. But if you think of like, what is the best service I can give my highest value client, you can now use those queries to frankly give that service to essentially anybody in the book. And so that's what we're super excited about. Um, I will pass it now back to you, Matt, and let you hand it off to Stephen, but really appreciate it.
Yeah, if you are an existing Zocks user, we want you to see this. So please go ahead and grab your phone, schedule a demo. If you are a new person to our whole system here, do the same thing because you're still going to get a really great demo about who we are, what we do, and how we can help you. There's a couple of things that Mark said there that I just really want to highlight. What AI is giving you the opportunity to do, what our system is giving you the opportunity to do is truly be more human. You have these connection points now, these proactive communication pieces that we can feed you through our system that changes the conversation. You look like a rock star. And when you see what Steven's going to roll out here, you're going to be even more of a rock star because you're going to be able to do some pretty cool stuff.
Thanks, Matt. And first of all, I'm very proud of Mark and Matt here for getting through the preamble in only 12 minutes. For those of you that have been on our webinars, no one would accuse Mark or Matt of being short-winded. So we had them on a schedule. They stuck to it. We're going to keep rolling. So what you guys are seeing here is our client queries platform. And we're really excited about bringing this because it's something that our advisors have been asking us for since the very first conferences that they went to. They're like, this is amazing. We have better access to our end client data than we've ever had. We're starting to get our different systems connected. How can I query it to target outreach? So what this allows you to do is here at the bottom of the screen, you can enter any natural language question. So if I enter in something like, who has mentioned a high income year and is interested in charitable giving? And I go and click enter, it is going to go and look at the connected sources as well as the Zocks client profiles. And it's actually going to break down that query into separate query terms. So have they mentioned having a high income year and is the client interested in charitable giving? It's now going and looking against those client profiles because many of these books and business are thousands of contacts. It can take about 30 seconds to a minute and a half to run. So while this is running, I'm actually going to jump to a few queries that we've pre-run. So one of the things that, as Mark mentioned, we always get asked about is, can Zocks help me with tracking of RMDs? And I see Matt nodding his head because this has been the industry problem forever. And so here I've asked it, show clients who are subject to required minimum distribution this year where they haven't actually taken it yet. And what's really amazing is if I click on these matches, it's actually going to go and tell me exactly why we matched the criteria. And then it's going to go and give me actions for servicing this client. And so in many cases, what that'll look like is you're going to go and say, hey, I'd like to create an activity in Redtail. And I'm going to go and say RMD meeting, and then I'll add context, need to schedule discussion. Like a good leader, I will always go and assign someone else. So here I'm going to go and assign Alex Carter. I can choose a due date and save that easily down to my Redtail. Now, our product team has actually gone one step further, which when I saw this, I kind of lost my mind, which is as you figure out those queries that actually happen on that calendar, you can go and click schedule query. And what this lets you do is determine a time frame at which you want to update that list. So you can say, hey, quarterly or biannually or annually, I want to actually go and run this query and it'll keep that list up to date. For those of you already thinking, yes, you can go and set up a job to share this via Zapier or via a HubSpot connection to subscribe to a marketing campaign to personalize your outreach. You can go and do this one to many as well. So really powerful. So jumping into another example, as that one's kind of applies to everyone, but we also have instances where a personal touch really matters. And so one of the things that when we were early on talking to advisors is they're like, hey, I need the qualitative context. So could I go and define a list of people that maybe came to me because they didn't receive personalized service in the past? So which clients actually came over because they were dissatisfied with their advisor, with their custodian, that maybe need a little extra personal outreach? So here we've gone and ran this query. We can see we have a number of matches. I'm going to go and view for Vicky kind of what was going on. Oh, Vicky was previously with a custodian and kind of didn't feel like she had great personal outreach. So I'm going to send her an email. And if I click on send email, I'll hop over here. We're actually going to go and automatically generate an email that says, hi, Vicky. Over the past quarter, here are the most important actions we've taken together. It's listing out all of these different things that we did for Vicky and makes it really easy for you to see, oh, where did this data actually come from? And then send out. And so, the use cases here are endless. We talk to so many advisors that want to send an annual letter that says, hey, here are the goals you had. These are the things you accomplished. This is what we're taking on next, but it's been hard to actually execute it at scale. We're seeing that happen now with Zocks Client Queries. So we're super excited about this functionality. I'm going to pass it back over to Matt to get that demo link up one more time so that you guys can schedule a more in-depth demo. We want people to start using it. We're offering a free trial of this functionality. We're really excited about bringing this to the market. Back over to you, Matt.
Yeah. So let's just break down. Okay. Yeah. We'll go to the slide here in just a second, but I want to deconstruct a little bit about what Mark and Stephen just said there. You just were able, the last example, to show real proof of how you're exceeding the expectations that the other financial services professional didn't live up to with just a wonderful, easy piece of communication based off the structured data that we have. And I can't, okay, I've been a practice management consultant for a really, really long time. And these are the sorts of things that were so difficult to try to find in your CRM. Here's the deal. You all know this. Nancy, who has been your assistant for the last 20 years, she knew all this stuff, right? Like, just go ask Nancy. Well, listen, you don't have to go ask Nancy anymore. Nancy can maybe start doing some of the magnificent outreach and continuing to build the great relationships that she has with your clients because the structured data that we have is able to do that for you. Yeah. So if you're an existing client, please, once again, go ahead and scan this. If you are not a client yet and you want to know more about who we are and what we do, go ahead and take a picture of this. Also, I also want to go back to something that Mark had said. The foundation of all of this has been very sequential. Like these brilliant people who are running the company here, they saw these gaps and started building in a very systematic way. This wasn't one of those things where they're like, we need this feature. And all of a sudden, no, this was tested and checked and tested. We've got this unbelievable team, that's building all of this on the background. And I can't stress enough how clean those results were that Stephen was just showing. And please go ahead and sign up for a demo. It's going to give you a great opportunity to find out a little bit more. All right. So we have some questions. I'm going to go ahead. Can we answer one of these live? Do you mind? The Yvonne question. I'm going to go ahead. So are client queries included in the subscription price or is it an additional charge? Who Mark or Stephen, who wants to grab that one?
Let me take this one. Yeah. So the answer is a bit of both. So we do have some core queries if you're Ultimate user, and you can go ask questions, and it's what we would call basically the broad queries. So a lot of the demos Steven showed you. We also have the ability to do what we call deep queries. And you can do that as well from Ultimate and Pro. Those do cost money. So what that will do, and I'll describe just briefly how it works. What that will do is like if you're looking for something very, very deep that wouldn't naturally be in a client profile, the AI agents can actually go out and work across the systems and do that. But the way it'll work is it'll naturally return the results to you, and then you choose if you want to go do more of that. I think more importantly, as everyone is getting going, and I think all of us are still getting a little bit used to like kind of the cost of AI and these systems and how they work. What we do is we actually have quite a lot of credits we will give you so you can run it for quite a while and get an idea of both what's valuable for you, get an idea of kind of like if and what it would cost without ever having to spend any money and just starting to see that. So that, yeah, it's a great question. There was a similar question in there around Pro and Ultimate. We do enable it for Pro and Ultimate. A lot of these kind of what we call more broad queries are included with Ultimate, whereas Pro there's a cost after you're through your credits. But again, just to echo what Matt was saying, and I know there's a lot here, I think for a lot of people very familiar with AI, this may seem natural and normal. For a lot of other people, this may seem like a lot. What I would really recommend doing is booking a quick demo, understanding. We have people specifically set up to help you with client queries, give you some demos, give you some examples, show you how to use it. They can also load these these credits into your account for you, and then basically work with you to do it. And so our practice management team that is set up specifically to do this to help with these. And so we've tried to make it as easy as possible to get going. We would also love the feedback, frankly, on, during this like long beta period. We got some amazing just ideas on like how people want to use it, things that could be helpful for them. And the product team, like this is our initial launch. The product team is continuing to work on adding additional data and different types of queries into that. So all of that is super valuable for us as well.
Well, let's, I'm going to step back and quantify this from my limited worldview. The insurance opportunity, Mark, that you brought up at the top, right? You're able to go ahead and increase life insurance premium for 10, 20, 30, 40 of your clients. The cost is negligible to what you're getting on the back end. Or even better, with the list that Steven just showed you, right? With the different sort of, with one of the queries, you can hand that now off to your business development people, your junior wealth advisor, your team to go ahead and have them start making the phone calls and setting those appointments, because that's where you all shine. Face to face, belly to belly, screen to screen with your clients, giving them the opportunity to really just partake in your wisdom. All right. So we're getting a bunch of questions about where we're approved. I think so LPL seems to be a big one, right? There's actually been two questions about that. We have an official response to that, which is the official one is coming very soon. And I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, but we have been told that you can use us. It's just not officially approved yet. And so, because I met with a whole bunch of LPL advisors at a bunch of conferences, they're like, dude, we're already using you. You guys are fantastic. And so it's Mark, and I can get in trouble with you guys later, but I just needed to say that out loud because, we already have LPL advisors, Cetera advisors who are using Zocks. I just wanted you all to know that. All right. So there's some CRM questions here. And I don't know how deep you guys want to get into this, but
Yeah.
when I'm making a query, okay, it does pull some information from some of the integrations. Which one of you wants to help me with that question?
I'll take this one because I think it's specific around CRMs, and just so I don't get in trouble, we are not yet approved at LPL, but you will see an announcement very shortly. I would say book a demo now, get on a pilot, don't use it with clients yet, but we're super excited about that. The team has been very good to work with. We are approved at, I think, all of the major broker dealers at this point once LPL is out. But if you have any questions, shoot us a note on the website, book some time, and we'll talk through it. But, Osaic, Cambridge, Cetera, Meritos, all of these have approved us, and we have quite a strong user base across them. On the CRM side, we will look into the CRM systems. We support quite a number of CRM systems. I think it's over 10 at this point. probably like over 15. It is one of the systems that we will look into for queries to look for things. We do have an understanding. I think some people may who are newer to like a system like Zocks may not fully, understand just how it works underneath, understandably. But, when you're working with a client, once you've had one meeting with them, if you think of typically what you do in those meetings, you'll be like, how are your children? How's work going? Has anything changed? You actually do a pretty broad sweep across their life. And so that helps build profiles for us around who's in what situation, who has children, all of those things. If needed and where needed, we will also go to the CRM to get data to see if there's a better fit for that as well. And I believe that is true across all of the CRM systems, definitely across Redtail, Salesforce, Dynamics, and all of those. Matt's muted, so this is like the first time I think I've ever been on
oh my
a
God.
webinar where I can speak and Matt Matt wasn't. But
Yeah.
any other questions, Matt, that you wanted to hit?
I do. Thank you. I wanted to talk about the RMD thing from a compliance standpoint. So, Stephen, when you showed that one specifically, or Mark, whoever wants to answer this, when you ask that question, can you talk a little bit about what the result is and how one can take that result and utilize that from a compliance perspective?
Yeah, so what it's looking at there, Matt, is it's looking for people that meet the age demographic, and then it's looking for evidence that they have actually received their distribution. And as Mark was describing, that evidence comes from the client profiles, which we're building. So anytime there's an update in the planning system, in the CRM, in a received email, in the custodians that we integrate with, we actually know that. And so what we're trying to do is surface as much information as possible so that you can go and easily kickstart your RMD workflow that you already have. We talk to so many advisors that are basically maintaining a manual spreadsheet where they say, okay, these are the people that have hit the age. This is when they need to take their RMD. This is the amount. This is when we sent them the email. This is when they took it. And so we're trying to cut out all of the manual part of that from their workflow by being able to quickly identify the item. Now, you will still have to go work with the client to make sure they actually take that distribution. But identifying the data is oftentimes the most important or the hardest thing, coupled with what is the immediate outreach that we make there.
Fantastic. All right. So we are getting some questions about our competition when it comes to the differences between us and Jump and some of the other platforms out there. And I want to give this just a little context because there's two things that we've rolled out here within the last 45, 60 days that we are really the leader when it comes to that, which is MCP, which we did a whole series on. In fact, we're doing more on, and then client queries. Mark, I'm going to ask you this because, you're the CEO. Is there anything else that I'm missing? What are some of the big differences between us and Jump specifically, and not just Jump, some of the other people who are in this space?
Yeah, there's a lot of different, opportunities and options, I think, to use AI with your clients in different ways. So it's hard to kind of have a one size fits all. I would say with a lot of our kind of main competitors, there's some great apps out there, frankly. But for us, the big three things you're going to see, one is just accuracy and depth of information. So frankly, if it's two people on a Zoom, it's pretty easy to figure out who's talking and what's going on. If you do deal with clients where you have maybe multiple professionals in the room, some virtual, some in person, different people in different roles, we're regularly told that we have much better identification of roles, depth and accuracy of data across the board. So that's a big one. Second one for us is really what we think of as the depth of integrations. So with the planning systems as an example, it's the easiest one to say this with, but it actually works with all of our integrations. We will literally update hundreds of data points in like an e-money if you're using e-money or in a right capital. And what that allows you to do is get a lot more data in there and frankly allows you to build a draft plan very quickly. And so we do that. I don't know any other competitor that does that. There's a lot of different AI systems out there, so apologies if I've stepped over anyone in there, but we just haven't seen that. And not only will we fill it all out, but if it's an existing client, we will look at their existing data and then update all the new data. That's a big piece for us. And then the third one, as Matt hit, is we have a lot of extensibility. So client queries is an example of that. It's ways to get at the data and do things with it. MCP is another one of those. If you want to hook up Zocks to Copilot to Claude to ChatGPT. You can do that and start to use those AI systems in a secure and private way on top of your client data to do things like, draft annual letters to them to do some analysis. We actually have a really cool demo where it'll even in Claude we will have it recommend gifts for your top clients, and it just goes through and looks at all the information and tells you these things. So there's a lot of those things, and we'll continue to do that. And part of the reason I'm highlighting those three are those are areas that we just continually invest in more and more deeply. So I would say if any of those are important to you, there's a good chance that we're probably a great platform for you. I think also for people who are looking across the broader ecosystem, having something that is focused on financial services, both from an accuracy point of view, from a security and privacy point of view, as well as from an integrations point of view, will not just save you time, like in a, I don't need to take notes now, but there's just so much more you can do with that data once you have it. So I would say those are probably the high levels across the board. We definitely love, we have trials for everyone too. So if you're unsure, just give it a try. It's free. We'd love to set you up a trial, try it for a few weeks and just see what works side by side. But those are the biggies for us.
And we absolutely love, and we want you to make an informed decision, right? You need to do due diligence. You do it on the products and services that you offer to your clients. You might as well be doing it on your tech stack too. So make sure that you're testing a side by side. If you're using something else right now, scan that QR code and go ahead and test a side by side. There are going to be a lot more queries coming down the road as we continue to flesh this stuff out. Mark, we were talking a little while ago, and this really just also kind of talks about the difference here is when you are using queries more, it actually can make your data better. Can one of you guys jump on that, please?
I'll hit this at the start, and there's some of these answers on questions. One of the things that I think is important, and one of the reasons that we've run this, I'll say beta program for so long and are excited now is naturally, you can kind of do anything you want by asking it these different questions. One of the things we are doing is as we see more and more use cases in a certain area, it allows us to pull that data into what we call the core profiles, which makes things faster to query and frankly also cheaper because that means it now goes into the broad queries. It doesn't have to do this deep digging. And so, for us, one of the things that we've done a number of things to make sure that you never two things are going to be true. One is that you never get like a surprise bill on any of this. Like there are controls at the admin level, at every level. That's also one of the reasons we give you a lot of credits at the start to get used to the whole thing. But you're never going to get something, like we always think of at least for me at my age of like the cell phone bill in whatever, 1999 or something where it was like, like none of that there. It's very easy and very predictable. And I think the other key thing is as we see things get used more and more regularly, that data will increasingly, we will put more and more of that data in the core profile, which then makes it easier to query, makes it faster. It just gets better for everyone. And so you'll see, just like with the LLMs, you will see the cost actually go down and down over time, as these things get better and better, you can do more and more with less, which is really, really powerful.
All right, Steven, I'm queuing you up here. I have a question for you. So you're out and about a whole bunch. You're sitting, belly to belly with a whole bunch of advisors at a lot of conferences. When you have brought this up to them, what sort of feedback have you gotten? I know you were involved with the beta. What have you been hearing from the people who are on this call right now, the financial advisors here, and how they're feeling about this release?
I mean, honestly, Matt, it's relief. This level of data is the thing that's been the biggest hindrance from scaling operations. Many advisors we talk to have team members that are spending their days going and combing through past emails, going and combing through CRMs. And that is a really manual job, and it's really hard to drive consistent service that way. So when we talk to firms about this, they light up because hey, this all-star CSA that I have now gets to spend more time interacting with my clients, gets to go and drive outcomes, gets to do marketing, gets to do more thought leadership. And that's what we're really seeing is we're shifting people out of these middle and back office manual workflows into the front office. And it's really exciting. As Mark was illustrating, we're just getting started. We're learning from advisors as we build this. We really want people to get started. And so we're offering the credit so that you can get started at no risk to you. The other thing that I'll plug, because we're on a webinar and I have to plug things we're proud of, is someone did ask about, okay, I'm ready for level 2 in Zocks. What do I do? And let me point you towards the Zocks Academy. It is amazing. We are constantly adding courses. It is on the bottom left of your Zocks nav bar, or you can click on that purple button on the bottom right if there are specific courses you want to take. If you want to learn more about client queries, if you want to learn more about the MCP, our product and product marketing teams have done amazing jobs building collateral here so that you kind of know how you should be using this and you can feel informed as you go and get set up. So.
All right. So this is a pretty techie question by John Barron here. Can you email 10 clients at the same time if the list is 10 clients about an RMD?
So the answer is yes. The emails will be personalized. One thing I will point out is we will never email directly from Zocks. So instead, what happens is you'll click send, it'll pull open those drafts in your Outlook, and you'll go and send it from Outlook. That way, it goes through supervision, it includes your signature, but it will be a personalized email to each of those contacts that you can go and send out. So one of the main use cases here is the one-to-many conversations and initiating that. If you have a scheduling link, you can include that in the email as well. It's pretty amazing what we can do with the email engine.
Well, if you have any other questions as I'm wrapping this puppy up, go ahead and make sure that you put them in the Q&A. By the way, we've answered 22. Thank you, team, for being keyboard warriors on the back end. When you have the opportunity to ask your meetings real, insightful, plain language questions, what comes from that is actionable things that are going to not only have you have a better practice, but a better life. You are going to actually feel this relief. I've told this story before. I haven't told it on a webinar, but I had a chief operating officer come up to me at the first conference that I went to. And I thought the two salespeople, they were really senior salespeople, were kind of hazing the new guy. And she came up to me, she said, Zocks changed my life. And I was like, I'm looking around. I'm looking for no. And she's like, no, really, this is it. With Stephen, it's what you said. It's the relief, right? So it's not only the relief from the advisors understanding that the important information is going to be captured and then structured, and you're going to be able to query that data later, but it's also what it does for your team. Right. For those of you who have a chief operating officer, those people who have all of those assistants, and you know they've been chasing you down forever to put darn notes in the CRM or make sure that they weren't just trying to understand the chickens that ran across your yellow pad. This fundamentally changes everything. That's the foundation. And now we're starting to build all of these other amazing things on this unbelievable structured data that we have for you. It's just a game changer. And again, when I saw this, I just did it on our marketing meeting today. I wanted to make a point to our team here how big of a deal this is for all of your practices. This is a game-changing opportunity. AI is the biggest revolution in financial services since modern portfolio theory, in my opinion. And this is just the exclamation point on all of that. All right. So, well, Nate's answering this question, but I'd like to pitch this to you guys. What security measures are in place for protecting client data? Who wants to grab that?
Yeah, I'll start this one. So we have a lot of security measures in place, and it depends on how you're configured, and you fully control that. But essentially, you should think about it like this. You fully own and control your data. So you can set how long it sits in Zocks, how long it doesn't. You can choose to redact data if you want. We, at a lower level, have everything encrypted in transit and at rest. There's essentially a lot of security protocols and checks into like anything accessing the data. That's part of the reason we've been approved at essentially all the broker dealers at this point and are used in very large, like all the way through banks, ink systems. If you want more details on that, specifically, I would say if you have questions, specific ones, or you also want like what we call a compliance package because you want to keep a copy of that for your own records, just let us know, go to the website and let us know, grab time with someone. And we have everything from like our SOC 2 reports and audits, third-party auditor that does it, all the way through to the core details that people typically want on it. I see a few other questions, Matt, that I'm just gonna like
Yeah, go.
rip through if that's helpful.
Yeah, yeah.
Just there's a bit of a, and then we can give people a little bit of time back, but there's a bit of a theme here. One of the ones I'll hit, Stephen demoed this. It's very powerful, is the ability to drive these like, emails and workflows coming out of the queries. That is an area you're going to see more and more in very, very quickly. So we already have, I believe, about 15 different things you can do driving out of it based on the CRM you're in, and whether you're using Zapier and like just exporting lists. You're going to see that grow and grow and grow. So there's a lot of different capabilities coming out with different CRMs in that case, like putting lists in, tasks, a whole bunch of things there. So keep an eye on that. But I would say for now, you can definitely get everything you want out and automate it, and you'll see that get faster and faster. Another one, and apologies for, I think Matt and I were very excited at the start for not giving a little more background on what Zocks does, but someone is just asking, like, can we, essentially, like, can we listen to meetings in person and on Teams and do all that? So just at a really high level, Zocks, will listen to your client meetings, whether they're in person, over the phone, like a normal telephone, mobile phone, VoIP, we don't really care, or virtual Teams, Zoom, WebEx, all of these. We will not just capture notes, but we will create notes for you to push into the CRM. We also can, in a couple clicks, update the CRM, all of the little data points that often people don't fill out in there. We also do that exact same thing with the planning systems like eMoney. There's a question in there on eMoney, so we'll actually update quite a lot of data points in there. And then when we've attached to a system, we also can query that system and help for things like pre-meeting prep, asking anything about your clients and those types of things. So before you're about to meet with a client, or if you're, kind of like all of a sudden doing that or in the middle of a meeting, you can actually ask questions, and we'll also answer all of these things at that point too. And then our goal ultimately, as we mentioned, is to have you focus on your clients as much as possible. We can essentially do all the work in the background, if you will, and help out you and your administrative team so that you're focusing on growing your business and serving your clients. And at a high level, that's really, kind of what we do across the board.
And if you want to know more about what we do, make sure you're following the Zocks page on LinkedIn. Mark, Stephen, myself, Jim on our team, we're all posting stuff on a regular basis so that you can understand who we are, what we do, and how we do it. All right. Well, we are going to give you guys a little bit of time back in your day. We want to thank you very much. If you have not scanned that QR code, make sure that you do, to go ahead. If you're an existing Zocks client, check this out. And if you haven't started using us, do that same thing and test us side by side with whatever note taker you might be currently using to really see what the Zocks difference is. All right. For Mark and Stephen, this is Matt Halloran, and we'll see you on another webinar very soon.
Thanks, everyone.